Now, when you decline in the NFL, it hits hard. If you guys recognize Ezekiel Elliott, wasn't that long ago he was already suspended for a game for misconduct and for behavioral reasons. And now I'm hearing him on the Chargers practice squad before Wildcard weekend, as well as Royce Freeman, that used to play as a Charger and a Denver Bronco, but now he's on the practice squad for the Los Angeles Rams. Now, we've been also in some major updates involving the NFL when it comes to head coaching decisions. And when it comes to Matt Nagy being the head coach of anything, it just makes me feel a different way. Because also Nathaniel Hackett has been streamed to get a possible head coaching job because Gerard Mayo got fired. And I think New England Patriots fans know who their new head coaches is by the moment. And after a 4-win season, a new coach over in the helm to develop a new regime after an underwhelming campaign that was supposed to have them be competitive in the AFC East, they end up the bottom of the division. Also, Ohio State won the Cotton Bowl against Texas. They're heading off to face Notre Dame in the national championship. So that's the consummate high-scoring favorite involving Heisman finalists getting eliminated out of Dylan Gabriel. And Texas, the big gun Texas to finish off. And Penn State to possibly win their best seasons in the past 10 years, losing in the semifinals to a faltering defense, poor game planning, poor offensive line work, and shoddy quarterback performance. And Georgia's former quarterback heads off to Miami Hurricanes. I didn't even know that was going to happen. I thought the transfer portal opens a bit early spring, but you're going to have spring training, so I guess things got to happen. But, you know, the college football is way different of a realm than it was around over 15 to 20 years ago, when it was a bit more important when it came to a quarterback leaving. Because when I'm talking about Carson Beck, kind of shit the bed over his past few games. And that came over pushing off a stinker in the AFC Championship game, where they had their backup pushing the load after an underwhelming performance. And this is where they had, I think, 3 different quarterbacks. So Stockton took over after Quinn Ewers tore them a new one with 335 yards. And it took Georgia's defense and a field goal to close out. So now he's off for the Hurricanes. So I don't even know what's going to be the major strategy heading into this football season, as well as the postseason. Because Notre Dame's defense has been astounding. I'm not going to lie. They have had possibly one of the fairy tale campaigns out of beating Indiana, that was a favorite against them. Beating Georgia, that's second in the country, that's unheard of. Pushing for another defensive powerhouse out of Penn State that rammed over a second best Heisman finalist out of Boise State, where that was third in the country, and beating the shocker SMU that pushed in the playoffs but didn't really do that much and got outplayed. And now here they are facing off against Ohio State that possibly is going to give them a run for the money when it comes to offensive production. But, yo, kudos to Notre Dame. Pushing it this far. All probably a lot more fans are concerned about are if this game is going to be as underwhelming as the past 8 national championship games. Because last time we had like a 60-0 shutout involving Washington. It was like trailing by like 17 the last game because Michael Penix could barely throw, but he was still able to play. So I don't know what's going to be the excuse or the circumstances if Notre Dame can compensate over the offensive side, because we know they can press. They're good at zone coverage. They can gap linemen. But Ohio State is a very competent team that kind of steamrolled. Like the realest opponent was supposed to be Oregon, steamrolled them like 24-0 at the half, bro. It was not funny. Ohio State is like straight business, and I think that was coming out of the loss against Michigan before the playoffs started. And that's a majorly important game in the regular season over in the Big Ten. So I don't even know what's going to happen there. So that's going to be an exciting time for college football. The NFL playoffs are closely ahead. Sucks the Niners won't be there, but you get what you get. We get to still see exciting playoff football, still getting adjusted to this new playoff format, to be fair, guys. I'm not really in the moon with it. I'm sure some fans would disagree that we only get like one team with a playoff bye. That being second best doesn't really push much because we had 2 of the second best teams in the NFC coming from the NFC North with a former Jets quarterback, and that's usually a joke, a running joke in the NFL when it comes to a Jets quarterback performing. But shockingly, Sam Darnold has been astounding but pissed the bed in the final game of the season for Detroit Lions. And we're supposed to start around this Saturday with the Houston Texans versus the Los Angeles Chargers. And then we're going to have Pittsburgh Steelers versus Baltimore Ravens on 8 p.m. Then we have the Denver Broncos playing off against the Buffalo Bills. As well as Sunday slot goes to the NFC with Packers, Eagles, Commanders, Buccaneers. Buccaneers over the 2020s have kind of won 2 of their last 3 games against the Commanders. And Vikings playing off against the Rams. I don't know if they can sprinkle their magic that they had back in 2021. I think it was 2022 where they played the Cincinnati Bengals, but the Bengals won 4 straight. But Kansas City could risk losing a game 40 straight, then let Cincinnati win. So that would snag them a wild card spot. And that's a team that knows them the most in the playoffs. So that's not going to happen. So it's either let the Broncos probably get smoked because Chiefs have a bye. And Broncos have been possibly one of the best teams in the AFC and possibly one of the best Bills teams in a while. MVP candidate out of Josh Allen could deal with a rookie quarterback with a very, very explosive Broncos team that fought hard. When they play good, they play good. And when they play like shit, they play like shit. But to keep it close. Steelers have kind of faltered and lost, I think, their last 5. But they still had the wild card on lock. Even though they smoked over the division, let Baltimore steamroll them. And they have been pissing down their leg. The only divisional opponent that they've beaten was like Cleveland. And that was after they beat them in snowy weather. They lost in snowy weather to them. And the Texans, sophomore slump, but the division's terrible. So Chargers can snag possibly an easy victory or choke over this game like they did against the Jaguars that got somehow Doug Peterson to keep his job for an extra year before he got fired after knowing that his $250 million quarterback was a flop and got injured because of concussion. Joe Flacco, Kiko Alonso style. So that's possibly going to end up badly. I have I somehow have the Chargers sneaking over to the playoffs because the lack of arsenal coming from the Houston Texans, who they still have. I think Tank Dell tore his ankle. Nico Collins, and they're still Dalton Schultz. So knowing what's going to happen, their best productive receiver over the past couple months have been Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston got only 711 yards. He got 8 more touchdowns because of his size over as a red zone threat. He's not really a receiver with his frame and his explosiveness that he can catch the fucking ball off out routes and do something, or else he would have gotten at least 900 yards. Or at least 1,000. Ladd McConkey putting up all-pro stats in just is this his rookie year? And he's already off 82 receptions more, but just one less touchdown. And this is just for regurgitated Ravens running core with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. It's regurgitated Ravens running core. Like the only running back that they don't have is Justice Hill. That's all they're missing. And this is with a very productive Chargers unit that is ranked 20th somehow on offense. Because the receivers can't catch and their running game gets deplorable because they're aging. But they can move out over in the ball. But Houston's defense has still been top 6, and they can be massive deep threats if they expose and pressure Justin Herbert that I can heavily lack. All I know is this is going to be possibly one of the most underwhelming games, even though they have two of the most exciting teams to make it, especially Harbaugh's first playoff game back after being a San Francisco 49er head coach. But that would be nice. And I don't know. I think the more important game would be for the Philadelphia Eagles to exceed expectation, because they'd really need it. Because going 14-3 with a comeback of the year, an offensive player of the year candidate out of Saquon Barkley would be concerning. Knowing Jalen Hurts' passing stats, he only has a 68% completion rating. He's 18 of 5 because of Saquon Barkley's Megatron-ass numbers from the back of the field. 2,000-yard season of 13 touchdowns. And leads the NFL in touchdown receptions as a halfback. Of 345 attempts, we thought Jalen Hurts was a running back. It seems like Saquon's putting the team on his back. I think all you needed was actually a competent team with a competent offensive line to actually move the ball. A.J. Brown put up another 1,000-yard season, but I feel like Devontae Smith just did a lot more. Even though A.J. Brown kind of smuggled down early half of the season. Top 5 offense. But you're messing with one of the best young defenses in the NFL with a Defensive Player of the Year candidate out of one of their cornerbacks for the Green Bay Packers. I think people keep forgetting because, you don't have an all-pro quarterback MVP candidate out of Jordan Love yet. But the Packers are in the right direction. They, even with faltering injuries, they still picked up big wins with their backup quarterback out of Malik Willis. And their defense has been astounding. If you guys ever seen, if you seen like Kenny Clark, Tucker Kraft, Isaiah McDuffie, that was a former Giant, picked them off twice this season. Looked astounding over in the backfield. Xavier McKinney, that was just awesome. It wasn't Isaiah. No, McDuffie was a Chief. It was Xavier McKinney that was a Giant, and he ended the season with an All-Pro season to remember. 8 interceptions of 128 yards. Ball hawking madness, putting up bland numbers like when he was bland numbers for the Cowboys. But the NFL is always, but the playoffs are always a different realm, and this time you're dealing with a team that can soar you out up the middle of the field, I would say the tight end position would be less over and a problem. And I would say like the passing game would be closed out because I feel like the Eagles are just a more well-rounded team. I could see this ending down the wire 28-24 for the Packers and the Eagles, but the Eagles could probably snag over a close surviving win. It would be a hell of a year if the Packers could just sneak over in an NFC Championship game and probably meet one of the rivals. That would be an insane conversation to have, knowing that the Vikings, they could meet, but they could be fraudulent. Very fraudulent. Because Sam Darnold loosened a bit of their confidence when they could have gotten a playoff bye on the line against their division opponents. And now you get one of the teams that closed out with a division lead and just was way more efficient than you on the over on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know what got into the in week 18 for Sam Darnold's coffee. And this is after another All-Pro year with Justin Jefferson on the field. With 1,500 yards off 10 touchdowns, Jordan Addison, Cam Akers, a relatively decent halfback that used to play for the Rams, of Darnold putting up Madden numbers, 4,300 yards with 35 touchdowns. But that's what the 12 picks will be appearing against a Rams team that can't scout out spies and get around the field. And Stafford can still sling the ball, even though his production kind of falters around his confidence. And Kyron Williams can attack around the gut. And I haven't seen much over this top 16 defense that they can be a run stop. Even though Puka Nacua missed out over a part of the season. His reception numbers are insanity. And Cooper Kupp could still be an experienced All-Pro that can leverage over in the ball. But I just feel like the Vikings could overwhelm them. And then we got Commanders, Cuccaneers. Yo, shout out to Baker Mayfield. I feel like from all the quarterbacks that's been leveraged, scapegoated around their underperformances or their shortcomings, you got to give it to a guy that cares, that wants to, produce for their team. Buccaneers are shockingly so effective offensively. Mike Evans will possibly one of the best receiving seasons in his career, with another 1,004-yard season with 11 touchdowns, second most behind Jerry Rice. Bruce Irvin and Rachaad White being a great running back duo with a combined 11 touchdowns. With Cade Otton, they have a decent pressuring defense, very aggressive over on the field. I can feel like the rookie could be shut off due to pressure and inexperience in the postseason, even though he has an exceptional experienced supporting cast out of Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz. But their defense hasn't been shown to really be that possessive and aggressive when it comes to slowing down the alternative. Even though they're ranked 13th, sometimes the rank doesn't perceive all the play styles. If you guys see in the Commanders games, they don't really hold teams that often when they play real NFL teams. They really don't. And this is an outstanding season for the Commanders. Because they conceded like 14 points. The lowest they did was like 7, but they were playing the Carolina Panthers. Like they'll allow the Giants to beat them by like 1. 26 to the Cowboys. They did win four straight, and they did defeat their division rivals. Look legit. They haven't lost since November 24th. They haven't lost since their Thanksgiving game against the Cowboys with their backup quarterback. So that's outstanding consistency, confidence with a rookie quarterback for the future. This would be an outstanding season, but I can understand a new atmosphere with postseason success. We've seen this before, but hopefully it's not injuries that falters in Jaden Daniels' success for Rookie of the Year voting. But if he performs, but the team couldn't exceed expectation, because Baker Mayfield, I feel like, is just more of a superior quarterback, but can still falter over turnover ratio, but he can still produce in a higher clip. That could be a big factor into why the Commanders, can't follow up. But this would be an outstanding season. It's good to see the Commanders back. It's insane how much NFC North dominance. 3 division rivals making it for a postseason run, with possibility that we're probably going to see the Lions in the NFC Championship or we're in the Super Bowl. And the Bills need to get that monkey out their back, man. So do the Ravens. A lot to prove for certain teams if they could just live up to the occasion or just start back from scratch, bro. And you don't know how many teams that I know are possibly going to lose. I think like the Steelers are going to get mollywopped by Baltimore. They don't deserve to be here, in my opinion. That's it for me over in the TST Show. Like, comment, subscribe for more. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my weekend. I hope you do too.